Okay, hello. I'm Dr. Shefali. As you know, I'm a clinical psychologist. I work with families, couples, kids, parents who have issues with their children, and I help them to create a greater connection. I work with educators, counselors. I have a coaching institute. If anyone wants to be trained by me, I have an amazing 5 month coaching program where you can learn what I teach and the skills. So I first began talking about conscious parenting in 2007. My daughter was 4 years old. So, how many ever years ago? More than 15 years ago. And back then, no one was talking about conscious parenting because it came upon me, it dawned on me that, wow, we parents don't know what we're doing. Okay, so simple. Any child will tell you that their parents don't know what they're doing. But because I had so much ego, I thought that I knew what I was doing as a parent, and I thought that all the other parents knew what they were doing. And before I became a parent, I was very judgmental. How many of you here are very judgmental of parents if you're not a parent, right? You look at the parents who are out of control with their children or who have children who are obnoxious, and you're thinking to yourself, I'll never raise a child like that. My child will be amazing. My child won't be disrespectful and cursing at me and obnoxious and entitled. My child will be amazing. So we all had this vision of how we would be as parents before we became a parent. And then when we become a parent, we try to blame our mother-in-law or we try to blame our husbands. And we're like, oh my God, we need to have another child. So we have child number two. And child number two is not doing it either. So we keep having children hoping that this amazing child will pop out. Now, for the young people there, I'm sorry, but your parents had you probably because you were the most amazing one, or they had more after you because they were waiting for an amazing child. And they're trying to make you into this person, right? And once I realized that most of us as adults are really trying to make children into a project, into an artist museum piece. Once I realized that, everything kind of fell together. That one of the main reasons we have children is not so that we can follow them, not that we can attune to them, not that we can align with them, but we have children so that they can become something that represents us, kind of like a trophy or a brand ambassador. And most of us adults were raised by parents who treated us like their brand ambassador. So we treat our children like our trophy, our project, our puppet. And when I saw myself doing it to my child and that I wanted to control her, I wanted to manage her moods and her opinions and her thoughts. I wanted her to be a mini me. And when I saw myself doing that, I was like, wow, I wonder if everyone else is doing that. And of course, everyone else is doing that as well. And we do that in education as well. The kids come to us and we try to mold them to fit into our model of what success looks like, what good looks like. And this kind of cut paste, right, edit and paste model of raising children is unconscious. It's easy because you just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Everybody who's in this category gets an A grade, everybody in this category gets a D grade. But what we're failing to understand is that we are trying to fit the square peg into the round hole. And for those children who fit into the round hole, they're A plus students. They're good. They're going to be successful. They bask in the glow of our praise and approval and validation. But those that don't get labeled. They get labeled disrespectful, defiant, difficult, and they are degraded in some way. And they carry that scarlet letter all through their life of unworthiness. I can still remember, I'm sure many of you have a memory or two of one of your teachers pulling you out and making you feel really bad about yourself. I have at least two or three where I was made to stand up and I was made to feel unworthy. And that doesn't leave us, right? Those are like brands on our soul that stay with us. So I began teaching conscious parenting and conscious education, which is basically, in a nutshell, the elevator pitch is you got to take care and heal your own emotional crap. Otherwise, you're going to pass it on to the next generation. These young kids here, how many of you are thinking, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for telling these adults that stop passing on their crap to us. I know you're thinking, you're sitting really straight, but you want to nod your head, don't you? I know you do. Because thank goodness there's some adult telling the other adults what you know. You know that we adults are kind of control freaks. You know that we try to act all self righteous and we are so amazing, but you see how hypocritical we are. All the kids I work with, they're like, thank you. Thank you for telling me that I was right about my parents. And that's why we parents and teachers don't like teenagers. Okay. We don't like teenagers. Okay. Because we call you guys, a pain in the ass because you suddenly can see the truth behind our ego. And when you all are young children, it's lovely because you idolize us and you put us on the pedestal. And I have so many parents who come to me and say to me, oh my God, just yesterday my child was an angel. What happened? What happened is that these children woke up and they got a big brain and they realized, oh my God, these adults, these adults are not that amazing and that they are full of like nooks and crannies. And so the adult falls from grace, and then the child is very upset because the child is, oh my God, you fooled me all these years. I thought you were like watching CNN and doing research and volunteer work at night, but now I see what you do. You're like having a glass of wine and watching Real Housewives. Now I see that you are just a bigger version of me. That's it. But all this time you were pretending like you were nothing like me, right? So when children realize that, they feel tricked, they feel disillusioned. It's okay. We felt the same way with our parents. It's the same rinse repeat that we're doing. So, conscious parenting is breaking the cycle, is realizing that we don't have to do parenting or education the same way that our ancestors did. There's a new way to parent and a new way to educate our children, but it takes courage to go against the matrix, to go against the system. So I have many teachers who come to me or parents who come to me and say, how can I go against the system when everyone in my family is in the system? Or how can I go against the system when everyone in the neighborhood, everyone in my school, right? I have to meet these requirements. My supervisor, my superintendent, my principal will be upset with me. So out of fear, we're all just puppeteer to follow the same useless model of parenting and education, a fear based model, a scarcity based model, a comparative model, a competitive model, which pitches kids against other kids. I'm sorry, we didn't like it growing up, but we're doing it to our children. So, how can we be enlightened in education and parenting? Well, the first thing is it takes courage. The second thing is it takes humility. Humility to do what? Humility to be able to see in the mirror that we are basically trying to control these children. The parents are controlling them and the teachers are controlling them. And we need them to fit into the box. And we need them to fit into the box so we feel like we were successful. But in doing that, we have to be honest with ourselves. I'm not saying don't do it, but please be aware that you are in this cookie cutter approach trying to raise. This is not going to sound okay, so I'm sorry. You can blame Mark. By the way, Mark made me do all this and come here, so it's his fault, okay? It's a cookie cutter approach, which basically is creating soldiers, cattle, sheep for an army, for the slaughterhouse. And then when we are in our 30s and our 40s, we go through life and we go through pain and we realize, holy crap, I don't even know who I am. Because my whole life I was following a prescription. What my culture told me, what my religion told me, what my teacher told me, what my father told me, what my ancestors told me, what my tradition told me. And I was just following. And I call that the zombie life. And most of us are living zombies till we wake up. The beautiful thing about life is that it pushes you into so much pain that one day the pain is going to be so much that you're going to go, who the hell am I? And typically it happens when you're in your 40s, okay, midlife. When you have a teenager at home and your teenager doesn't give a shit and your teenager is like, bye, mommy, or bye, dad, or they just treat you like a chauffeur or a wallet and a house cleaner, you're like, okay, I'm not a parent anymore. My partner and I are like miles apart. The career that I was chasing is not giving me fulfillment. And then you wake up and you realize, who am I? Who am I beyond my label, beyond my title, beyond my accomplishment? Who am I truly? So you see, our children come to us with an authentic spirit, with an essence. You came into your life like that. These children come into the life like that, with this authentic signature. And they are longing to be honored for their authenticity. But what happens in our life is that we take these beautiful spirits and we put on them all these prescriptions: how to be good, how to be a girl, how to be wealthy, how to be happy, how to be successful. And we create these railroad tracks that are these check boxes of how to go from childhood to death. And we hope that our children will just follow the prescription because we did. A lot of these prescriptions are based in control, which are based in fear. And the tragedy is that every single human at some point will go off those tracks. You know why? Because those tracks did not emerge from an authenticity, they emerge from an indoctrination. What we want to do is raise children who understand that they are interdependent in a system, but who are chasing their own inner knowing. So even if they're following a curriculum and following the rules, we want to encourage them to challenge the status quo, to think for themselves, to understand who they are. And education today fails, for the most part, to give our children the self-knowing. Parenting fails to give children self-knowing. And we don't realize that without self-knowing, we will not have self-connection. And without self-connection, we will not have resilience. We will have performance. We will have achievement. We may have a lot of money, but we will not have true resilience. True resilience comes from competence. Competence comes from struggle. And struggle comes from asking difficult questions of why. Who said this? Why are we following this? Who am I? And if we take away the struggle from children by giving them prescription after prescription after prescription, we teach them to be with blinders and rote learners. And in our culture today, we're making things more indulgent, more entitled, more luxurious. We're taking away struggle from our children. What we don't understand is we're taking away the grittiness of their own human condition, the mess of being a human being, of waiting, of getting bored, of failing, of being rejected, of not knowing the tomorrow. We're taking away the unknown. We go straight to ChatGPT or Claude, tell me. We're not allowing them to sit in the mess of a human connection. You know, our children are creating artificial relationships, artificial attachments. They don't even know how to wait. If Uber comes late, our children are having a conniption. If there's no Wi-Fi in the hotel, oh my God, we cannot even open the suitcase till there's Wi-Fi. What does that mean? That our children are becoming unable to sit in the present moment. We are becoming unable to sit in the present moment and to be in the messiness of the human condition. But when we take away this messiness of the human condition, we take away inner connection. Because what did you and I do when we were young and we didn't have Wi Fi? We didn't have Wi Fi. What did we do? We got bored. And when we get bored, something very amazing happens in your brain. The brain has a network called the default mode network. When there is a moment of calmness and stillness in your life, within minutes, the DMN, the default mode network, turns on. And it is in this network that you are creative, that you are enlightened, that you are inspired, that you are spontaneous. And children today are not turning on their DMN because there's no moment of stillness. We are creating a culture of deep disconnection. When we were growing up, it was disconnected enough. I began teaching conscious parenting in 2007. And back then I was telling parents, be present, be connected, connect with the child's authentic self. Don't project your bullshit onto your children. That was in 2007. Now I'm like, oh my goodness, get your kid off the screen. Don't overindulge your children. You are raising a generation of apathy and listlessness and lack of initiative. You are seeing children are so fragile today because they haven't practiced the mess of the human condition. So parents ask me, what should I do? So I'm going to give you a few takeaways and then I'll open it to questions. The first thing we need to understand that children who will be the most resilient will be children who are connected to their own inner knowing. And that's risky for us as educators and parents because we're too rushed. There's too much to study in the intellect. There's too many things to do. You know, parents come and tell me, I don't have time for my child to know themselves. I'm just going to tell them who they are. Let them figure out who they really are later. But there's no time to figure this out. So we're racing to adulthood. But what we don't realize is we're missing the key step of life, which is inner knowing. So what does this look like at 2 years old? It looks like, do you want the yellow socks or the red socks? Do you want an omelet or a fried egg? What does it look like at 14? Do you want to, do math as your core subject, or do you want to do, geography? Do you want to play the violin or do you want to give it up? It's involving the child in their own self-governance. So inner knowing needs to be top of the curriculum. The next thing that needs to be taught to our children, which is not being taught, is regulation. What is regulation? The ability to name your emotions and tame your emotions. And when you name and tame them, you can allow them to pass through you without swallowing you. To regulate, you need to learn mindfulness. Next thing on the curriculum, mindfulness. Number 3, we need to teach our children the art of conflict resolution, of being rejected, of messy interrelationships. There should be a whole class on how to communicate through the mess of life, through the mess of relationships, intimacy. We don't teach our children that. We need to teach our children how to be bored, how to be still, nothing in front of you. Sit there. When you have an inspired thought, write it down. When you have a new way of looking at this problem, tell me. So divergent thinking has become extinct now because we are given answers more and more by ChatGPT. And lastly, we need to build community, which is connections. And not only is technology taking over the attention of our children, it is taking over the attachment with our children. And we're losing this. And we cannot lose this. So community. A child who grows up with these pillars will grow up to thrive. A child who only grows up studying calculus, geography, social studies, that is not building your emotional character. It's not building your emotional skills. And at the end of the day, we all know that we have to survive in a social world. And the more we take away the social world, the more we're going to handicap our humanity. So, you as educators, you as parents have a very solemn opportunity, a somber, solemn, sacred opportunity to infuse every period with 10 minutes of a skill. And I'm sure you're doing that already, but to do it with real passion and real focus, to build consciousness and to talk about how does the child feel being a receptacle of so much adult unconsciousness. Children today, are in a precipitous mental decline. And you may wonder why. This is the happiest time to be alive. This is such an age of abundance, but it is an age of social poverty and emotional deficit. Why? The reason for it, the reason for it is because we have replaced human connection with virtual screens. We've taken out struggle, we've taken out tension, we've taken out rejection, and we have raised a generation of fragile, mentally fragile human beings who cannot handle the knocks of life. My daughter started her internship yesterday, first day. And she tells me, "Oh my God, I was abused today, mom. They abused me." I'm like, "Oh my God, what did they do? Did they whip you?" "Oh my God, no, they abused me." And then she was like, "Yeah, but they did give me a good lunch and then they gave me a good break for an appetizer. But then they kept me 20 minutes later. How could they keep me 20 minutes later?" Yes. So she said, first night, okay, I'm going to work for 8 weeks in this, it's an internship. And then I'm going to take 9 weeks off. This is my daughter, okay? I was like, and she said, "Why are you looking at me like that?" I said, she's like, "I need to have my summer." I said, "Summer? Like, you're an adult." They're not understanding that they are adults. She's like, "I need to have," I said, "When is summer over?" She said, "September." I was like, "September?" I said, "In Florida, summer's over in August." So I'm like, what? I was like, what? I was like, Maya, she's 23. I said, "I'm horrified by what you're talking." She's like, you are horrifying me." I was like, "No, you are horrifying me." I said, "I have failed as a parent that you work for one day, already thinking of taking 9 weeks off for 8 weeks of work." But this is it, fragile child. My child, fragile as can be. Of course, I said, "Don't you dare even think about it." So she and I are not talking right now. She's not talk as of right now, she's not talking to me because I've created the most horrific boundary that she's meant to go through her summer. Right? What audacity these children have. But you cannot blame them because we have raised them on instant Wi-Fi, instant Uber Eats, instant DoorDash, instant ChatGPT. They don't understand what I'm talking about. Like, why should we suffer? why should we work so hard? And they are filled with hopelessness. Many children I talk to will tell me how they are filled with an existential anxiety because they're bombarded with our crazy adult crazy. I mean, if you grew up in today's political environment, you'd be like, "Oh my God, the people in charge are psychopaths. They are psychopaths." So imagine the sense of unsafety our children have. So as parents and educators, we need to be talking about this stuff. We need to be talking about the manosphere. What is masculinity? How is it affecting our boys? What is pornography? When are they going to face it? These are real struggles that are entering your children's lives at the age of 11 now. That's why I wrote these two new books, Raising Conscious Daughters and Raising Conscious Sons. Hold on, maybe one person will buy a book. Hold on. These are my two new books next, coming out in September. They're on pre-sale right now, Raising Conscious Sons and Raising Conscious Daughters. I wrote two new books because we are in a mental health crisis of unprecedented proportions. And we educators, we adults need to understand that if we don't help our children emotionally navigate the pressures they feel, perfectionism, overstimulation, overexposure, apathy, listlessness, they are not going to use your education. They are going to take a broken heart into their adulthood. So something needs to change in the way we're parenting our children and the way we're educating our children. It's almost like we have never been at this inflection point in culture ever before. And we need to revamp the way we are teaching our children at home and at school. We need to reprioritize our goals. We cannot teach them the same way we learned. It's a whole different world. They are bombarded to abusive levels of adult psychopathy. And we need to help them deal with us, with our generation. And of course, boundaries around screens is paramount. But our US government doesn't create guidelines. So we need to create guidelines. So, how can you, as a school, create a village that helps the parents to create the guideline? That you can all together bring all the parents and all the kids and say, y'all are going to have play dates with each other. These are the topics that y'all are going to talk about, the manosphere, porn, especially for teenagers. But we are all making a rule that none of you are going to be on your phones together. Of course, it may not work, but we try to educate our children to help each other to stay protected from this vast overexposure. It's like you've let strangers into your children's lives and not protected them. And we have to take charge of what our children are going through. It's a silent epidemic, but it is a definite epidemic. And I'm here to raise the alarm and provide guidance. And we have to do it consciously. So conscious parenting and education means waking up, getting our head out of the sand, and truly becoming spiritual and emotional activists for our children. Because it is an unprecedented mental health crisis. So we all need to work together to raise our children's consciousness. So that's my little talk of doom and gloom. I'm sorry. But I'm happy to take some questions. Conscious parenting, this is my book 8 and 9. Okay. So it's very vast. This was only a short talk. I have a whole community where I have tons of workshops for free. You can join my community for 30 days for free. Go to my Instagram and DM me community, and you can join and get all my classes for free for 30 days. It's hard for me to put it all together so fast, but you get a taste of what I'm talking about. I'm happy to take some questions. One second, I have to unmute you. I can't unmute you, so I think you have to unmute yourself.
I think we got it. You hear us now? Yeah. Can you mute one instance of this?
Say it again. Yeah.
I can't hear you. You know why? Because there are two screens. You have to close one screen.
I'm just going to rejoin that.
Yeah.
I can remove one. Do you want me to remove one for you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
hold on. Okay, now say something.
Test.
Much better. See? You're fine. Okay, go ahead.
You want to stand up?
Oh, sure. Hi, thank you for your talk. It was great. In terms of compassion, I think this day and age, are teaching our children to be as compassionate as possible, and that then gives them the ability to feel, which I think is, and then finding those opportunities. So I know they get a lot of that at St. Gregory's, but I just wanted to hear kind of some advice on that topic, like how to teach more compassionate people. Because I think our world these days is just so uncompassionate in some ways.
Beautiful. I think compassion comes from acceptance. So we have to teach acceptance. The people who are not compassionate and who are not accepting of others are not accepting of themselves. And this goes, you have to teach it at home as a principle. And that's why I go back to honoring the child's authentic essence. Even if in every class or every day at home you talk about, I honor you, I honor myself, just those words over and over, empathy and compassion is the next step. But if a person feels unaccepted in their own body, they feel lesser than, shamed, degraded, demeaned, they will not have compassion because they are being treated uncompassionately. So we have to bring it up. How can we treat each other with honor, it's acceptance? How can we accept ourselves? A person who accepts themselves will not be uncompassionate. All this narcissism and psychopathy you're seeing through the Epstein files, through our current administration, is present because of severe narcissism. And narcissism comes from a severe disconnection in childhood. A child who wasn't seen, a child who was used, a child who was always replaced and not truly understood and connected with. So these systems that are so deviant are, if you trace it back down, it comes to a parent-child bond and a severe disconnection there. So that's why I write these books for parents, is like, I'm sorry, parents, but you have a responsibility. But the next place that has a responsibility are the teachers. But if there's no room in the curriculum to talk about empathy and compassion, then we're actually telling our children it's not really important. What's more important is you go to Harvard and Yale, right? But that is not more important. And that's why our children, when they reach Harvard and Yale, they fall apart.
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I happen to have been raised in a strict household, and I didn't appreciate it until I was, gosh, I would probably say my 20s. But consciously, I am also, I think, raising a strict household with my 2 kids. And often my daughter says, "Oh, you're so strict." But I know at some point, I hope she will also appreciate it as I do. How do you manage that? My mom always says, let her cry now so you don't cry later, but that's hard to kind of teach her when, and she was in the front row, but they left, thankfully. But it's hard to kind of teach her that, or have her be patient in that, in this structure that we have at home.
Well, it's what are we being strict about? If we're being strict because we want obedience, that is not a good reason to be strict. It's not about being strict, huh?
Cell phone.
Yes. If we're being strict about social media, phones, technology, staring at a screen, all the more power to you. Drugs, alcohol, anything that is self-harming, like technology is right now and social media, let her cry. But if you're being strict because she wants to play the piano, not the da-da-da, or she wants to go out with her friends, then those blurry places, right? I call it stone and sand. We create stone boundaries when it has to do with self-harm, anything to do with harm. If it has to do with anything else besides harm, it needs to be sand boundaries, which mean we talk, we negotiate. My daughter wants 9 weeks off, I'll give her maybe 2 weeks off, so we'll talk about it. We have to negotiate now. So she may be really actually only being smart because she's like, let me go really far out so then I get a few weeks in. And I'm thinking she's only baiting me, right? So we negotiate. So as long as we're clear about what the intention is, and we're not doing it for the sake of obedience, we're doing it for the sake of true protection, you're going to be okay. But many parents do it out of control, do it out of wanting stability and just, my way or the highway. And that will always backfire. So even for your daughter, even around cell phone, you should tell her, go and get me 3 articles that say cell phone use is good for your brain. At your age, I will give you the phone. Tell her to go find you the research article.
Not judge.
What?
She'll find it.
Yeah.
No, she won't. No, it has to be In a journal, yes, in a real journal, not some child writing some article. She won't find it. It has to be a real study. Tell her so because they're so smart. Real study, peer reviewed, real scientific journal, true research controlled study, not some essay by some child. Give me 3 articles that tell me it's good for your brain. You will get it tomorrow. She won't be able to do it. You can go and ask Google before just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure you won't find it. You're doing a good thing, okay, by not giving in to that. But try to talk to her about it. Try to make her see why you're doing it. And that's why I say, if the whole school did this together, oh my God, all of you would be so much happier and your children won't be fighting with you. Because the problem is you're strict and then Becky's mother is not strict and you're like, thank you, Becky's mother. You, because of you, I'm a bitch, right? No, that's not fair. So you all want to do this together. This is where the school should be able to help you. Just saying.
And when you say that, are you saying no cell phones till high school, or what is a good math for that?
Yes, I'm sorry. Ideally, it's no screens till teens. So teen starts at 13, 14, 15. So I say till 15, 16, but it will not work if everybody doesn't do it together, you know? And then you can start at 15 when they show that they've read some books, done some research, done a paper for you, show that they understand what digital hygiene is. They do an agreement with you. They go through the contract. We try out the contract. If they break the contract, we do a trial period. We put them through the ringer. We are giving them cocaine. Okay, this is cocaine. Do you give your kid cocaine? Never. Okay, I'll give you cocaine because everyone else is having cocaine. Okay, here we're giving them wine. But at that age, they shouldn't be drinking. So we're okay. We'll give it because everybody's doing it. Okay, but you have to show me that you're not going to be a drunk driver. So, but that's what everybody needs to do together. And that's the problem. We're not attacking this communally. We're doing one by one in our house, and our kids are killing us. That's
I have
why
one more
the school
question.
can help. The school can help.
Yes. On another topic, I have older children and college and out of school, young out of school. And all 3 of my children tell me about a friend that's in a really unhealthy relationship. And they try and talk to them about it and how to get out of it. Like, what advice do you have for a friend trying to advise another friend about, look, that's not a healthy relationship? I know that's a broad topic, but.
Yeah, I mean, they're caring for each other. We all were interfering in each other's lives when we were kids. We were all gossiping and caring. They can do it, but really tell your child when you are in an unhealthy relationship, you won't listen either.
You just won't listen because that's
You
what
just
they
won't
say.
listen. And what your friend needs is for you to tell her the truth, but also to be there for her. Because messy, unhealthy relationships, who hasn't been in a messy, unhealthy relationship? Like it's like a rite of passage. But if it's harming the kid, if the person is abusing them, they're cutting, they're drugs, alcohol, you have to tell your kid to go tell their parents. And they can stay anonymous, but they have to be empowered to tell an adult if it's harmful. If it's only emotional drama, that's the way we learn. So tell your kid that your friend needs you to not be her counselor and not be her preacher, but to be her friend and to be there. You can tell her the truth, but be there for her. That's what your friend needs from you. And same with you guys. If your kid is in a bad relationship, if it's drugs, alcohol, cutting, danger, you have to intervene and take your kid away. Like take your kid to Mars. If you have to move to Mars, you move to Mars. You take your kid away from the toxic situation because teenagers, you know how they are. They're just like magnets. So you may have to move. I just had a parent who moved state because her kid was doing such terrible things in a gang that she just moved state. What to do? You have to move. You have to do something drastic to get your kid out of that. But if it's not harmful and it's only emotionally insane, like all our adult relationships, I suggest that you don't interfere much. You just help the kid because the more you interfere, you will create a Romeo Juliet love affair. You will stoke the fire. When you were young and your mom told you don't hang out with the boy, suddenly the boy was very attractive, right? So be very careful about how to maneuver teenage issues, you know?
I need you to just elaborate on something. You said while talking to us that we're allowing strangers into our child's life and we're not protecting them. Can you, I think you meant technology, but could you define what strangers is it that you see that we as parents are allowing in our kids' lives, and how is it we're not protecting them, and what can we do to protect them?
Yes. So what I mean by strangers is that the algorithm is not in your control. Even when you and I go on Instagram, that's how we're getting a dopamine hit. We're like, oh, what is going to show up next? Oh, what is going to show up next? And we do. Everybody's scrolling like insane because it's such a hit of unexpected. What's going to show up next? Let me see. What should I buy? We're being puppeteered by the algorithm. The algorithm is capitalist. So these predators, capitalist predators, are in control of your mood, exposure, what your children are watching. So for those hours that we are zombies on Instagram, which is every single one of us, at some point of the day where we're like, let me just be a zombie, we are giving up our power to these strangers who are actually only waiting for you to buy something. To buy something. They're just waiting for you to be baited. Put that in the teenager's hands. The algorithm knows it's a teenager based on just in what the teenager stops to look at. They're like, oh, this is a teenager, this is a boy. Let me send him porn. Let me send him content from the manosphere. Let me manipulate him. It's like we send your 12-year-old to a foreign European, Southeast Asian country and leave them. We wouldn't do that, but we leave them to the World Wide Web. And that is completely unmonitored, unmanned, unsupervised. So what do you do to support them? Till 16, even 16 is too young, but you won't be able to survive more than that. Your children may gag you and leave you in the basement. So you might as well give in at 16 and say, I can't control this anymore. But 15, 16, their brain is not developed. They're idiots at 15, 16. You were an idiot. I was an idiot. We're idiots. Okay, sorry. We are really dumb. Okay, super dumb. And we are giving them the power to have to figure out this life. And now everything is AI filtered. You and I can't tell if it's real or filtered. So imagine they are being tested to see whether it's real or not. And the way they have mostly dealt with it is that nothing is real. So if nothing is real, what a horrible way to live life. Like they don't believe anything, right? The other day I told my daughter a real fact, like, hello, this is true. She's like, no, you believe too much. I'm like, no, this is the truth, Maya. No, mom, you believe everything. I'm like, oh my God, we have no reality anymore. There's no reality. Okay. And so I asked her the other day, I said, a lot of these things are coming in my feed. Are you getting a lot of things? She's like, no, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm like, oh my God, it was like something big in the news, like Iran war. It's not showing up in her feed because her feed is Sephora and eyelashes and some bullshit, right? But I'm like, what kind of world are we living in where we don't even see the same shit? So what can we do? At least so 15, 16, don't let them do anything that they can scroll. Because when you give them YouTube or things to scroll, you're actually taking things out of their power. When we used to be able to click the remote control, that was some control. Of course, it was in the buffet of choices that the networks gave us, but at least we had control. In YouTube, we have no control over what will show up next. And we are completely manipulated and hijacked. And children who don't have a frontal lobe formation, which 35-year-old has central lobe formation, they cannot maneuver this. And this bombarding, and you and I can't sit still. And you and I can pretend, oh, we are doing a puzzle, we're only watching the news. It's not, the truth is we cannot sit still. And I don't know about you, I can barely read anymore because it's so boring, right? You want the dopamine. So imagine our children losing all these skills. So you have to know this and don't make your children suffer till 15, 16. Don't give in. Don't give in because their brains need play, nature, rest, sleep, lack of stimulation, safety, predictability, connection. None of this comes with the screens. None of it. Yes.
I have a question. On that same note, so your advice, okay, this is all very clear and we're very aware of the damage it can do, but how do we, I guess, how do we approach our children in terms of, do we try to teach them, or are they unteachable about how bad it is? Or, not to put any more pressure on Mrs. Helm, is that something that like you've experienced any schools? I mean, our kids are smart children. And like, is it a matter of them learning how bad? Because it's definitely, I mean, that's very obvious in studies. There's no doubt that it's terrible, but it's like, how do we just say no? Or do we really try to educate ourselves how bad it is to then educate them?
Both. So if you have a child who's not yet touched the screen, don't do it. The hard ones are the ones who've given the screens and now we have to take it back. That is impossible. But you can still create boundaries in your home because you are the parent. So once you educate yourself and realize this is crack cocaine, you will be like, oh, keep crying for crack cocaine. I'm so sorry. You're not getting it. At least you can give it between 8 and 9, but you'll stop it at 9 and you won't feel guilty. And if your kid says, but this is the only way I get my social media fix or my social connection, then go, sorry, you have to find another way to have social connection. And then you have to be present. You see, you're going to have to be present because that's what's happened. Do you know children a decade ago were spending 13.5 plus hours a week outside together? Now they're spending less than 5 hours a week together. We almost lived our lives, our childhood outside. We didn't want to be in the house. Now everybody's in the house. And the parents are like, can you go outside? This is not good for their brain. So once you realize the ill effects of it, and you read my books here, you need to read these books, then you will help them. And you read the books with them. Make them read one chapter. They want to they go to a concert, read a chapter. You want to get a pair of shoes, read 2 chapters. This is the most important thing you can do for your children, is educate them about this thing. Like, it should be top priorities in schools, top priority in the house. I messed up. My daughter was 13 years old when the iPhone came out, and I didn't know. I was like, oh, here's some nice gift for you. I thought like this is going to enrich you, an encyclopedia in your hands. They manipulated us. We didn't know. So I'm on a rampage to tell other parents because I didn't know. And my daughter is 1000% addicted. It's her appendage. So at this job, she's not allowed to touch her phone. She's like, oh my God, I'm dying. I feel so bad for you. You're totally detoxing without any like help. I feel bad for her. I'm like, are you quivering? Are you frothing at the mouth?
So is it okay to then, I know you said to let them practice autonomy with picking their friends and their sports, but when we're talking about cell phones, is it okay to control the friends they hang out with if those friends have access to a cell phone? So I have an 8 and a 5-year-old, and some children at, I think 9 and 10, they have access to cell phones, limited use, but they have access to iPads. So is it okay for me to tell my child, I'm sorry, but we can't have play dates at their house because they have access to technology? Is it okay to control those types of friendships in their lives?
Yes, or you can tell the mother of the father of the other kid, listen, I want my kid to be with you, but I have a strict rule. It's like a peanut allergy, right? We don't get afraid when we say peanut allergy. I'm sorry, we don't allow. We believe our children's brains are allergic to this. It's not good for their health. Can you help me? Can you promise me? Can you help me? And maybe you can't say, can you promise me? Because the other parent is going to freak out. But can you help me to keep my kid away from this? Because my kid loves your kid, but I don't allow technology. So can you help me?
Mm-hmm.
And then if the mother's a sensible, conscious mother, she'd be like, oh, thank you. I don't want it either. Let's both join forces. But if she's unconscious, she's going to be like, no, I allow it. Then you're like, oh, I don't want to be with you. I don't want my kid to be with you. If you're not understanding that a 9 and 10-year-old has no business on a cell phone. Now, on an iPad, if it doesn't have Wi-Fi and it has only downloadable games and some shit, if you can look at it, yes. But if they have access to Wi-Fi, then that's it. Then you're allowing strangers into your house.
Yeah. Yeah, YouTube is just rampant.
Oh,
Everybody's
YouTube
on-
is the worst. You can go you can go anywhere on YouTube.
Shefali, thank you for the beautiful talk. Eye opener for everyone. So regarding your books, in the beginning when you started the the talk, some of the beginning part where you were appropriately reprimanding all of us. It was music to the ears, right? The kids sitting here. So kids are really good at cherry picking, as you know. So we give them the books that you wrote, which is how to raise a son or raise a daughter. And the next thing we know, they're cherry picking. Oh my goodness, my parents are horrible. This is what they've been doing to us because it's written in the book here. So I mean, how do we address that? I mean, because I'm sure it's a very good book.
But listen, it's such a good. You guys can go to YouTube, go to YouTube, and click type Dr. Shefali and Maya podcast. I invited my daughter on my podcast when she and I were going through a really tough time a year and a half or 2 years ago, when it was that my divorce had just finished, and she was pretty angry with me. And you can go here. I invited her to tell me all the things I was doing wrong. My point is, if they're reading this book and they go, Mom, you see, I told you that you're controlling. I told you that you're da-da-da. Look, Dr. Shefali says it. That's a good thing. You can go tell me. It's a good connection. I know in your head you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to kill Dr. Shefali. But it's actually a good conversation piece. You want them to complain to you, and you hear it, and you can then say, how can I change? How can I do better? Now, can I give you some feedback about you? And then you give her feedback about her, how difficult it is to raise her, right? It becomes a good way to talk. So don't be afraid. It's your ego that says, I don't want her to be like thinking like, see, she was right. I know what you mean, like I don't want my daughter to listen to me either, I don't want her to know that I'm saying all these things because she's going to come at me. But it's actually a wonderful thing. If you go see my podcast where she's killing me, okay, she's literally massacring me, no mercy, okay. But I'm just like, interesting, in front of the whole world. Thank you very much. But it was a bonding moment. She felt heard. She felt seen. So if you can get out of your own ego, you can use it as a conversation piece. Because I'm telling you, they already know that most of us are full of shit. So let them say it, and so, oh, funny, I felt like that about my father too. Oh my God, I sound just like my father. You can have a lovely conversation about it. My daughter loves to, she knows exactly how the words that will poke me. She says, oh, here we go. Here's Jesus, right? She tells me all the time, here's Jesus. Here's you and your Jesus complex, right? The other day we were in Paris together, and I told her to, instead of buying a book, I told her to order something on Amazon. And she was like, Amazon? Oh, I'm going to tell your followers what a fake liberal you are, right? And I'm like, wow, like she knows how to get me, and she's going to write a book and make money off me, but it's okay. But I'll put it in the will. If there's any book written, do not give this child anything. What I'm saying is, why are we afraid, right? I laughed at her. I said, oh my God, I love that. I'm going to put that on my t-shirt. I'm a fake liberal. So don't be afraid of them. Like they know already. And you'll be so chill and so cool if you can say, yeah, I can see I can be bossy. I can see I can be rigid. And let's talk about you now, so you can both exchange.
Where they go deaf.
So you also go deaf in one year, out the other year, it's okay. Only after like 30, maybe you'll have a good relationship, like an honest relationship. Till then, they're always the victim, okay? My child is always the victim. Somehow, if you have a girl, if you have a boy, they are either detached, they don't give a shit, you don't even know you have a son, or they're very lovely to the mother, usually. All my mothers who have boys, they're quite lovely. But they don't get hugged, they don't get kissed, they don't get talked to. There's no relationship typically. But girls, oh my God, if you have girls, oh my God, they are
I
like
hear you.
some other level, no? Some other level. I don't know what we did, we women. We were raising empowered girls and we went overboard, But
Dr.
it's
Shefali,
okay.
can you talk on that front just, and we'll wrap it up fairly soon, but online gaming and boys.
Yes. Not good. And
Right.
not good. They are escaping. They are surrogating community in their online chats. They are getting adrenaline and dopamine, but they're not dating. They're not pursuing girls. They're not playing outside. They're sitting on that chair and vegetating and thinking they're all that macho with their AK-47. Not good.
We all know that, but how do we curb that? How do we just cut it off?
They're so addictive, you guys. They're so manipulative. We should be suing all those companies because it's literally they're dripping drugs into your child's brain, and it's called a mind, whatever it's called. I don't even know. It's so addictive, and it's such a cult. All I can say is if you haven't started it, don't start it. If you have started it, limit it and go and try to get into the gaming and see what they're doing. Don't leave them to it because the predators are coming for your children through those games.
Scary. Well, Dr. Shefali.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You talked about inner knowing and being rejected. How can you give examples as a teacher how to have that happen in your classroom safely and okay, and also as a parent?
Well, if you I'm not really selling these books, but honestly, I have like pillars, right? Like the pillars of anti-fragility, pillar of regulation, pillar of inner knowing, sovereignty. Like I have 8 pillars for each of the genders, but they're really overlapping. If we know what we want to create for this year, like as a curriculum, we should say, these are the 12 principles we want to create. Then we create exercises around them, right? So 15 minutes a day, one of the teachers does an exercise on that principle. So for a rejection, we'll say something like, say something that you are feeling really bad about, a mistake you made last week, a vulnerable share, something you're scared of, and say it. And everybody accepts you, right? And then how would it feel if everybody rejected you? And we talk about rejection, we talk about acceptance, we talk about then how to be immune to external validation. How do you accept yourself? Because people will reject you, right? But we have to talk about these things, we have to bring it up. And as parents, what we can do is every day with your child, you give them a voice, right? You teach them. Don't ask me what I think. What do you think? Okay, now let's talk about it, right? And let's have a conversation. And I will not give in, and you don't need to give in. We both need to find a way to make this work so that we teach our children the capacity to handle conflict without collapsing. Our children today are so fragile because they cannot handle, they want to cancel you, because they cannot handle the back and forth. So once you know this, you're like, I better not give in. See, once you know that our children as a global societal whole are overindulged. Our children are so overindulged. Like if you didn't feed them for 2 days, you would be okay. Like they're so overfed, overgiven. Like I'm not saying don't feed them. I'm just saying we need to hold back, way back. They don't know a life without wanting. They don't know what it is even to want. They just get it. They don't wait, they don't want, they don't wish, they don't worry, they worry, but not for the right things. And they're not waiting for anything. It's always given to them. So once we know that they are given too much, you begin to say, you know what, let her suffer. Like that mother said, let her cry a little bit, not in a mean way, but our children need a little bit of discomfort. When the boyfriend breaks up with them, you're like, thank goodness, some real life, real life, because they don't have much real life. It's an artificial world we have created for them.
Any other questions?
Well, Dr. Shefali, thank you so much for spending the last hour with us. It was really good.
Thank you. I'm going to do a free masterclass on these books. So if you go to my website and buy them, you get a masterclass for free in September. So come and join me again. You can join my community for free for 30 days. You just have to go to my social media and type the word DM the word community, and you get all my courses. So there's a screen addiction course. There's lots of courses. So you can take a course for free and nothing to lose.
Fantastic. We will share that with these folks in our entire community. And we just so appreciate you spending time with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.